Welcome to Andy and Ari on 3. Big day on the show today. We got Boise State coach Spencer Danielson talking Broncos and the CFP and how they made it and how they will try to make it again and how the system will work. Good conversation with him, Ari. But first, I got to warn you. I'm issuing you a warning right now. If you say anything that I slightly disagree with, I'm going to throw you off the show, even if it's in the first minute.
It would be kind of crazy to know that, like, if you wielded that power, that you would use it. The first time I start going on my high horse about whether or not the playoff should have expanded, you're out. Like,
you're out of here.
You're gone.
For those who've been living under a rock, congratulations to LSU on winning the College World Series. The Tigers did not lose a single game in Omaha, which is amazing. Incredible pitching performances by them. Unfortunately, their win in Game 2 of the final series was overshadowed by a very sensitive umpire named Angel Campos, who, if you look back into his history, he's got a lot of really soft ejections in his history. He got fired from the MLB for reasons. He threw Coastal Carolina's coach out of the game in the first inning for arguing balls and strikes. And by the way, the coach was right. The strike zone was horrific. Now, it was horrific for both teams, but it was horrific. And Angel Campos is apparently very sensitive about his horrific strike zone. Threw him out the first inning, Ari. First inning.
First inning of the game that decides who wins the national championship. Am I understanding this?
Correct.
Yeah.
I mean, now Coastal would have had to win 2. But yes, Kevin Schnall would not have been able to coach, by the way, in the third game had Coastal won.
Yeah, right. Like,
this game.
Out. Yeah.
Well, and the other thing is, remember, he got dinged for bumping one of the other umpires when he came to argue. And I'm pretty sure that ump either flopped or tripped. It's one of those two.
Yes. And there was a pretty good explanation for how he felt about that, right?
Let's listen to Kevin Schnall, one of the all-time great press conferences after a championship game.
It is what it is, but if that warranted an ejection, man, there'd be a lot of ejections. As an umpire, I feel like it's your job to manage the game, the national championship game, with some poise, some calmness, and a little bit of tolerance.
The best part of that press conference was when I can't control another man's athleticism.
See, like, if you're going to throw me out, then that would be a good thing to say. I cannot control another adult male's athleticism. He tripped over himself, on the show, which I've done from time to time, Andy. That sucks. That really sucks. So, again, I don't want to hijack the topic, but it also kind of reminds me of another national championship type game that had something happen very early on that sucked, which was the NBA Finals last night.
Oh, yeah. I mean, your heart just breaks for Tyrese Halliburton.
It kind of goes back to the baseball thing, though. And I was thinking about this, so I had a great little day yesterday. I was invited to the Lakewood Country Club in Dallas to play golf. And I'm a horrific golfer, had a few nice shots, but a few where I missed the ball completely. And by the way, Andy, was recognized 3 times for the show. So Lakewood Country Club, stand up for
let's go
for listening to the show. We really appreciate you guys.
Very successful viewers and listeners. Sorry.
Yeah, then we played 18. It was very hot. Met the family at the pool. Had the most all-American day that a human being could have yesterday. And then at the end of it, I negotiated with my wife, and my friends did, to let us stay or go somewhere to watch the basketball game. So, as you know, I had the Pacers 6-1 to win the series. I didn't touch the game last night. I let it ride. And then that Hallie injury. And I started thinking to myself, could you imagine being a professional athlete or a person who has, strived their entire life to make it to a place where you could become a professional athlete? Then once you become a professional athlete, become one of the better players in the league that you made it into, lead your team to the NBA Finals against all odds.
Oh, yeah. By hitting multiple game winners in the playoffs. Yeah.
Going to Game 7 on the road and then hurting yourself like that in the biggest moment of your career. I don't care if you're a Pacers fan or not. And congratulations to Oklahoma City for winning it. I'm not trying to take anything away from you. But that's got to be like the worst feeling in the entire. If you don't feel bad for him, then like there's something
it's
wrong.
Terrible.
With you.
And he's going to be out all next year. The Achilles injury is a long recovery, and it reminds me of the Kevin Durant injury in the finals against the Raptors when he played for the Warriors. Like he comes off the calf strain, you knew it was a ticking time bomb. Like I was with a friend who works in orthopedic surgery, and like he said his Achilles is going to go at some point. This was with Durant at the time. And so like you knew with the calf strain that Halliburton was risking this the entire time. And it was just brutal, So yeah, that is
they
awful.
knew. So he knew going into it that with the injury that he would been fighting throughout the entire NBA playoffs was something that could lead to this. This wasn't just a freak injury. This is just the result.
No, everybody knew. Like, so you may not see a lot of guys fight through calf strains anymore, because twice it's happened in the NBA Finals where somebody's popped an Achilles.
Oh my God, I didn't even realize that he was rolling the dice with it.
Oh yeah. No, that was the part that, because he kept saying, "Of course I'm going to play," and there, people were saying, "You sure?" So that's why. But
yeah,
just
but also at that same time too, it's Game 7 of the NBA Finals.
You have to, I mean, he has to.
Your entire life kept building up to this. I know, like, even if it's a year recovery, like you hear people say it all the time. If you get to that stage, you might not ever get there again. Like,
exactly.
You can't take that for granted.
No.
Yeah, and also too, the Achilles injury is by far the worst thing that I think you could probably go through as a basketball player in terms of recovery. But if he sat out Game 7 to protect his Achilles, that would end his career. Like, I mean, there's no
one would ever forget that. Exactly.
That's all they would ever talk about. For the rest
he
of his
never
career.
said there was any doubt. Like he was going to play.
My heart broke for him. It broke for me too, because 6-1 is a nice little number. But and it was an entertaining game for the most part, but you just kind of had a feeling that at any moment
they ran out of gas in the third quarter. Yeah. When TJ McConnell was their only offense in the third quarter, you knew it was over.
That 9-0 run that happened in a minute in the third quarter when like Indiana tied it, and everyone was like, "Oh my God, I think somebody knocked down a 3," and then they knocked down 3 quick ones. Yeah, they scored 3s on their next 3. That was the game, but it. I hope he has a good recovery and we see him again back in the NBA playing, because I did really enjoy watching him play, and that sucked. But the reason why I bring it up, Andy, is because you want everybody at full strength in that situation. Yeah, like whether it's the baseball college World Series or the NBA Finals or the Super Bowl, you don't like. Is Oklahoma City doesn't feel bad that they won under those pretenses, but don't you want to beat the team that you're beating at their best? Like it's
sure. And if I'm an LSU player, everybody's talking about the Coastal Carolina ejection. They're not talking about how awesome we were.
Yeah,
and LSU was awesome. Like this is one of the most dominant college World Series performances we've seen by a team. So like they earned every bit of that championship.
Hey, I think maybe we might have to call up River here because he probably can answer this. I don't know about you, Andy, but the SEC in baseball is the SEC in football, right? Like they're the top conference.
More so than that, right?
Yeah, more so.
6 straight national titles.
What's the reason for it?
Money.
Is there more investment in the programs, or is there a lot of talent in the South for baseball?
There is a lot of talent, but I mean, if you look at the Big Ten, I mean, it's always cold in the early months, so you need to go down the SEC, and it's better weather, better.
Yeah, the Big Ten teams have to go on the road for a month, basically, to start. So it's like the weather helps, the talent base helps, and the fact that there are certain SEC programs, not all of them, but LSU for sure, Mississippi State, Ole Miss, Arkansas, South Carolina, Tennessee, that baseball is huge there. They sell out every game. Like
I got to tell you, being a really good baseball player in college at Coastal Carolina sounds like a pretty good little college existence. Sure. I don't know. Like that would be badass.
Well, and Coastal Carolina is no slouch. Like they won the national title a few years ago and came very close to, like they also, when they got to the final series, had not lost in the NCAA tournament. Like it's double elimination in all the rounds, they hadn't lost until they got LSU. So they were pretty awesome too. But yeah, it's Conway, South Carolina. It's probably a pretty nice place to be when you're a badass baseball player. Steve in the chat asked an interesting question. Do you guys ever recall a college football coach being ejected? Has it ever happened? Yes, it happened last year. Sonny Dykes got ejected from the SMU game.
That's right. I remember that. I don't remember what he did, though. Do you remember what he did?
I think he was just complaining about calls over and over. But I remember him walking through the end zone, going to the tunnel, hyping up the TCU crowd as he walked.
Which is hilarious because if you've ever spoken to Sonny Dykes, he's the most mild-mannered, polite gentleman you can ever meet. Sonny Dykes is the type of person you'd want to go eat lunch with.
Yes.
We should do that, a random ranking of college football coaches you would most like to go eat lunch with.
Yeah.
I guess is up there. Depending on what type of vibe you're going for. Some people like boozy lunch. Some people like a gentleman. I don't know, but
I got one. Spencer Danielson.
Yeah, that's a good one.
That'd be a dynamite lunch. So Boise State coach Spencer Danielson took his team to the playoff last year. How did he get the job? Remember, he was a defensive coordinator in 2023. Andy Avalos gets fired. They make him the interim coach. He goes on and wins the Mountain West and then gets the job. He explains exactly how all that worked because that was a pretty stressful time. But we got a great conversation with Spencer Danielson about Boise State, about the college football playoff, about just getting a shot. Let's talk to Spencer Danielson. We are joined now by Spencer Danielson, the coach of the Boise State Broncos, reigning Mountain West champs, made the college football playoff in the first year of the 12-team model. Ashton Jeanty was everything, all world. And now, got to figure out how to get back. What's up, Coach?
That's exactly what we're working on doing. I promise you that every single day. I appreciate you guys letting me on. Been looking forward to hanging out with you guys for a little bit and fired up for the season.
Andy, let's just start here. Okay, so Spencer was in high school when you were covering the Fiesta Bowl.
We had to start with that, right?
Because we were just talking about it before we started the show, and I just want to get into it.
Well, can I tell you guys the story of that?
Sure.
How it all came to. So I was the Florida beat writer for the Tampa Tribune. So Florida was playing Ohio State in that stadium in Phoenix for the national title a week later. But you always go out a week in advance of the national title game because you have to talk to everybody. They have all the interviews and stuff. So I land on January 1st, and my buddy goes, hey, another buddy who covers the team goes, hey, you want to go to the Boise State Oklahoma game? Because they got extra seats in the press box. They told us we could grab credentials. And I was like, yeah, I just want to make sure my laptop works in that press box because I'm going to be in a tight deadline situation. It's going to be a night game, the national championship. I can't screw it up. So I make sure I can send a story to the paper. And so we went to that game. And I'm sitting there as it's going on, what is going on? Because Boise State was kicking the crap out of Oklahoma for 2.5 quarters. Mm-hmm. And then Oklahoma comes back. And then all hell breaks loose. And at the end of this game, Spencer, I kid you not, it ends. We see the play. I was like, I stand up in the press box. Was that the Statue of Liberty? And then I start to just write the story because you got to get the story in for a newspaper. And then I was going to go downstairs and interview people. I start to finish up writing the story. My boss calls me and goes, did you see what just happened on TV? I said, no. He's like, the guy who scored on the 2-point conversion just proposed to his girlfriend who's a cheerleader. I'm like, what? And I told everybody in the press box that we all just run the elevator.
That's right.
I don't know if you guys know this. I know Spencer doesn't. I don't know if I've ever told you this, Andy, but I completely messed up my proposal to my wife. Because I don't know if you guys had this great scheme. I had this great scheme, and I had all of her friends fly in and we're going to meet us at a bar that night. But I knew she would catch me if I pulled over on the way to the bar, and I didn't know what to do. So I panicked and I proposed to her in our kitchen. And she's like, what are you doing? This is it?
I love it.
And I'm like, and it was just for the 2 hours between my proposal and the dinner that it all made sense at the end of the night. But she was like, what the hell was that? Did you nail your proposals? Because I'm trying to think that's the best proposal of all time.
I was 21. I proposed on the spot where we met. It seemed appropriate. and it was in a bar because that's where we met. So I don't think it was that great. Spencer, how did you propose to your wife?
I was 25 down in San Diego. We went. I was more nervous for the proposal than I was for the wedding. Like, I was nervous. I went to I don't even know if it's a real diamond now. Let's call it what it is. I went to downtown LA with like $500 to get a ring. Just graduated from Azusa Pacific, I don't know, 2-3 years earlier. And we're going on a walk in Mission Bay in San Diego. And we get back to I was driving an old Honda Civic that was like a stick shift, and my wife didn't know how to drive stick. So I didn't push the stick or the stick down, and I couldn't fake not start the car. I'm like, well, shoot, I guess we can't drive. And I think I'm slick, right? I'm like, oh, I'm wooing her into this. And so we get out of the car, we start like just walking by the beach, and I have a bunch of my friends there. And they're like hiding in the bushes. And then I drop down on one knee, I start crying, I start freaking out. And I think I was able to at least get the words out, "Will you marry me? I love you." She said yes. Then all my friends popped out. It wasn't a complete success, but it wasn't a complete failure either. And
you nailed it.
No, he nailed it.
I think people don't understand. People who've never proposed before do not understand the dexterity required to get down on one knee while saying some of the most meaningful words you've ever said in your life. So I essentially fell into my future wife as I tried to hit one knee, because I was trying to talk and do that at the same time. And anybody who ever has played sports near me understands that I don't do a lot of two things at once very well.
No question.
So yeah, I mine was messed up because I had to weigh whether or not I proposed in front of everybody or we did it first and then surprised her later. And I think in hindsight, I wish I would have just done it in front of everyone, which kind of brings us back to the original point of like, how do you perform in the Fiesta Bowl if I can't even like perform a proposal like in my own house, let alone in front of her friends?
Unreal.
And Spencer, I've thought about this for what's it been, like 15 years since that game now?
Yep.
Does Boise State have the hook and ladder and the Statue of Liberty play? Could you run it?
We absolutely can. I can promise you that. Oh yeah, it's built into the fabric of this place. You better. I remember I was talking with Dirk Cutter last year, and no different than Nate Potter, offensive coordinator this year. I'm like, we better have some of those trick plays built in. Maybe formation's a little bit different. It looks a little bit different, but we got some of those up our sleeve. I promise you that.
So it is amazing to me how much of the people who built Boise State still involved. I mean, you worked for Brian Harsin. Yep. I know he's at Cal now, but he was living in Boise after Auburn. Yep. Dirk Cutter is there, one of the original head coaches that helped create it and then work there again. So he's there, and you use him as a sounding board. Don't you talk to Chris Petersen like once a week still?
Yeah, Coach Petersen is a huge mentor of mine. Right, I got to know him a little bit over the years being here, and he comes back and vacations here. Still lives in Seattle, but comes back a lot. And then on Sunday, almost 2 years ago, when I got the interim head coaching job, he was the first call I made. And it wasn't like hype. It was like, what do I do right now? Like, give me some logistics. What should I do? Should I keep calling plays? Do I pass that off? And from that time, when I got the job in January or in December, I called him and said, Coach, I want you to be a part of this. I don't know what that looks like, but I want you to be a part of this. And so we Zoom once a week. I'm picking his brain constantly on leadership, logistics, and just how to be the best leader for these kids and our staff. And I don't know if there's a better guy to do it in his time than him. I mean, you talk about a guy that was ultra successful, but did it the right way and did it to build young men. Like that's what I want to do. It's not just for the rings; those fade. I want to impact kids, and he did it at elite level. So he's a huge mentor of mine.
I know that we can't belabor this for 20 minutes, but has Boise State ran either of those plays since the
not letting it go?
No, this will be the last question, but have they run any of those plays since that Fiesta Bowl? And have you ever stopped to consider how iconic it would be if in a big moment you guys pulled one of those out of your hat and hit somebody with it again, like 20 years later? Like you have the opportunity to do the coolest thing like ever.
You're right. All right. I'm going to, right after this, I'm going to go walk in our offensive staff room and be like, hey guys, I know you might be working on something else. We got to make sure this is in. I will tell you this though. And Nick Rolovich, it was awesome. We played Hawaii in 2019 in the championship game on the blue. We ended up winning but they ran like a version of the Statue of Liberty. And I thought that was a phenomenal deal from Nick Rolovich to be able to pull out a version of the Statue of Liberty against us.
Yeah.
It didn't end up working
Because it is high stakes.
We stopped it, but it was good.
If it doesn't work, then you taint the memory. So like you do have to figure out like what to do it, but just consider when no one sees it coming, hit them.
We're going to call it. Right when they never see it coming, we are calling it. That's a promise.
I can't wait because, they're at Notre Dame this fall.
Yeah.
Maddox Madsen drops back. Oh no! Where's the ball?
Yeah,
first play of the season, first 2-point conversion,
hey,
overtime.
Don't tempt me with a good time, fellas. You never have to tempt me with a good time. I'm in.
All Boise needs to do is get to one game where they do those grab ass 2-point conversion back and forth, and you're in.
That's right. Get some overtime. Let's roll.
So take me back because you mentioned when you got the interim job a couple of years ago, you get on the horn of Chris Petersen almost immediately. But take me back to that point because that was a strange situation at Boise State where you've got a firing midseason. The standard is so high at Boise State, and it at that point it had gotten to a point where Boise State was not meeting that standard anymore. What did you say to the team? How did you create that atmosphere? Because you guys went on a run after that. How did you do that?
Yeah, guys. I mean, first off, and I'm very open to this, I give Jesus all the glory because it's not because I'm so smart or so cool. I mean, I give Jesus all the glory, and I give our players and our staff in that moment where everything is pulling at them. I mean, this moment, I'm meeting with a recruit in my office. I get a knock on the door, and it's an assistant athletic director telling me head coach has been let go. You're going to be the interim head coach, and you're going to speak to the team in an hour. I mean, we're talking. It is happening now. And I remember when I went to speak to the team, what was on my heart was just grown men finish what they start. And I talked to our team. We had 2 weeks left in our season. I told our team, guys, I don't have the answer. I don't know what's going to happen after this, but I know that we've got a great group of seniors that have been through COVID, been through head coach being let go, all these different things. Grown men finish what they start, and I'm asking you to do that for our team. And our guys did that. I mean, it wasn't because it was some great speech. That's who these players are. That's who our coaches are. And a lot of our coaches are still here with us on our staff. And so proud of them doing that, and then went off to go win the championship, which is a testament to them. And so it was one of the craziest moments of my life where you have that moment. I then come home. My wife is crying, taking pictures off the walls. I mean, it's just, you talk about just craziness going on. But I show up to work on Monday. Our players are in here watching film. Our coaches are working their tails off. And went on a run, and we were able to win a championship. And we're just so thankful for that moment. And even when I tell this, even when we won the championship game, and our players are like waiting. We have the best athletic director in the country in Jeremiah Dickey, and I'll be very open about that. He's elite. Our players are like waiting for him to tell him, like, you better hire Coach D. You know, like, I see the line. I'm like, oh, geez. And I get on the plane. I've got the championship trophy. I've got our championship hat. I mean, we hadn't won a championship in a couple of years, and that's high standards here at Boise State, as there should be. And so I'm going on the plane. Players are dancing. I sit down in my seat, and JD, our athletic director, sits next to me, hits me on the leg, and says, "Really good job with the team, Spence." And we didn't talk the rest of the flight. And I'm like, what is about to happen? And by the grace of God, the next day I was offered the job. And so it's an awesome moment.
What was happening on that flight? Was it silent? Like that flight? Like, take me through where you were while you were like, I mean, if somebody goes, great job, I would have been like, well, do I have one? Like, I mean, like,
correct. Like, that's exactly right. I should have said that. But
yeah.
So we have all our players sit in the front. And so when I get on last, and so I'm carrying the trophy. I mean, it is pandemonium on this plane. I mean, our players they're going crazy. And by the time we, sit down to take off is when me and JD have this conversation. My wife's sitting right next to me, the aisles in between me and our AD, and that's all he says. But I was at peace because I love these kids. And I was like, you know what? These seniors now don't have an asterisk next to their senior year. Like, well, that's the year head coach got fired and they didn't do anything. Like, they finished that season and won a championship, which is the standard here, and just so proud of them. So I was at peace. As much as it was stressful driving home, like, I don't know if if I got to go to work tomorrow or not, but we'll find out.
Well, and you tell a story about going home the day the head coach gets fired and your wife's taking pictures off the wall. It reminds me of Dabo Swinney told me the story of the day Tommy Bowden got fired at Clemson in 2008. And he's found out he's going to be the interim. The AD's brought him in, and he's like in this little supply closet calling his wife to fill her in on what's going on. He said, all right, so I've got bad news. Tommy's been fired. And he's like, and I've got more bad news. They made me the interim. And because at that point, no interim ever got the job. Like, it wasn't even something people thought about. But it's amazing to see what he's developed. And I'd heard that you've been in contact with him a little bit about how you want to build your program and how you want to, especially in this era of NIL, because he's done it a little bit differently. Yes. And it sounds like you kind of want to do something similar.
Yeah, Dabo Swinney has become another really big mentor for me. We're really close. I think the world of him. I went out to Clemson to see him last offseason in February, and I'm open about this. I've watched him from afar for years. When I was playing in college and watching him and seeing him, just who he is, how he gives glory to the Lord, and how he impacts the players and does it at an extremely high level. I mean, consistently winning ACC championships, 2 national championships, and does it the right way. When I go to see Dabo in February, he calls me when I'm on the Uber, or I got a rental car, excuse me. I was driving my rental car to the hotel. He calls me. He's like, where are you at? He's like, where are you staying? I tell him I'm staying at the Marriott or whatever it is. He's like, all right, cool. And then he hangs up. I'm like, wow, Dabo called me. That's so nice of him to see, like, if I'm good. And I'm nobody. I'm like, I'm just, he doesn't know me from Adam. He's waiting for me at the hotel to greet me when I come to Clemson to meet with him. I mean, that's just who he is. You talk about a 10 out of 10 just person, let alone coach, husband, father. I mean, I think the world of Dabo and how he's done it and does it the right way, puts the kids first and always focused on having impact. That's my heart. And that's where, for us, when I became the head coach, like our culture is defined as built different here. And that is defined as building champions on and off the field by doing common things in an uncommon way. Like, that's what we want to do here. It's not about all the other stuff. Like, what we focus on is building champions on and off the field. And that's what we double down on here.
I think the thing that's interesting about your job, and probably has changed dramatically since the time in which you landed from that anxiety-filled flight, is how not only do you have to coach your kids and bring them along and help them mature and all the things from a football and life standpoint, you also have to decide how you want to, design your program. You have to be an architect, and how do you build this thing? How do you make sure that you can do it your way while also maintaining the standard? And that's got to be difficult. And I think that Dabo Swinney is probably a great, mentor for you, but obviously, his program and your program have different challenges. Mm-hmm. How do you take advice from somebody like Dabo, who you admire, who's been, in your corner, and mold it to what works for Boise?
Yeah, absolutely. Great question. I think with Dabo and some of the, and I try to call a lot of, there's a lot of things I'm learning on a daily basis. Dabo's a huge one that I talk to. And a lot of it with Dabo is more just, what are you focused on? Like, what is the messaging? What are you trying to get done? Maybe they might have more of something, but we can still, I believe that we can accomplish everything we want to here at Boise State. And I believe we have more than enough. Just like anything, we need to continue to push forward. But in the NIL, collective spaces, recruiting, management, schedule, fall camp, there's a lot of things that I want to see how other guys are doing it so we can create the best version for us. And that's really what I do. Going down there to see him was awesome to see how they ran practice. I was able to steal a couple different drills they use and a couple things they do with each other, a couple culture things that he does in regards to accountability. So there's a lot of things that I've been able to pull from him, from Coach Petersen, from other head coaches around the country that I believe have a heart to impact the kids and not just in it to win games. Obviously, I'm a competitor just like everybody else is. I want to win every game we play, and I believe we're called to that. But I want to do it the right way and have an impact on these kids to where, and I think it's cliche, but I know, like it says in the book of Luke, to whom much is given, much is required. I know at some point I'm going to answer for how the players in my program are 20 years down the road. That's what keeps me awake at night. And I want to make sure we're growing them spirit, soul, and body every single day. And I know when you do that, they're going to be better football players. They're going to make the right decision on fourth down. And so, long-winded answer to your question, I apologize. I pull a lot of things from. Some things fit, some things might not fit because we're in a different situation. That's okay.
Well, in that situation, though, because you've done a good job and your predecessors did an incredible job also, of finding these diamonds in the rough and then developing them into great players. In this era of college football, how do you make sure those players stay? I mean, keeping Ashton Jeanty, because I know a bunch of schools were after Ashton Jeanty last offseason. How do you keep the next Ashton Jeanty and make sure he stays at Boise State until the end of his career?
Yeah, great question. First off, I think you got to find the right kids. And I tell our staff all the time, we don't need to find 5,000 players that fit Boise State. We need to find the right 20, 25 every year, whatever that number is. We need to find the right ones. And we recruit where talent sets the floor. What is talent? How tall someone is, how fast someone is, whatever. That's their talent. We can view that on film. We can see that. But we believe here that character sets the ceiling. You talk about a kid with a high ceiling. That's the floor is high because their talent, but more importantly, their character is through the roof. That's passion for the game, loves football. That's high football intelligence. No one's going to outwork them. So I double down on those things in recruiting because if you find the right ones, they're going to want to come to Boise State. Maybe there's another place that can pay them more and all that stuff. Like I want guys that fit here, that want their life to be changed and developed here. If you find those guys, they're going to come here. They're going to not only come here, they're going to come here and become really good football players, and they're going to stay so we can change their lives. So that's our model, and it's something we're working at every single day to find the right players. And when you find the right ones, you can develop them to be elite football players, and they're going to stay here in this program.
Spencer, I don't know how much you guys or people in your position spend on, consuming content and thinking about things like the House settlement and the expansion of the college football playoff and seeding and all the things that we're bogged down by every day. But from a playoff perspective, having been the first G5 team in this era to make that field and, to advance into not just out of the first round through a bye, like, do you have an opinion on what it should be or what's just for everyone in this new system as we're trying to kind of iron that out?
Yeah, I'm asked that question a lot, and it's a great one.
Yeah.
My heart is always with every FBS team going into last season. We all knew what the rules were. Like there was no gray area, and you have to win these games, win a championship, and then that gives you an opportunity to play in the college football playoff. For me as a competitor and leading our program, as long as every school has a shot, then it's on us as competitors, as coaches, as players to go put the work in to get an opportunity to play in the college football playoff. So with them changing maybe this or that, with getting a first round bye and those things, to me, it's people can have their opinions as long as we always have a shot. Then we got to go out and win the games. We got to go out and do what it takes. But you better give me a shot. And right now, as long as we still have a shot, that's our focus because those are outcomes down the road. I get asked a lot, are you going to make it to the playoff again? Well, we got to make sure we have the best June 19th we've ever had, June 20th, June 21st, and then the outcomes will take care of themselves. So I try my best to not focus on some of the things that I don't directly control. No one called me in regards to what my thoughts were on the college football playoff to make changes. So as long as they give us a shot, we're going to work our tails off to get back.
We had this discussion on the show a few weeks ago, Spencer, and because somebody had asked us, one of the viewers had asked, would it be better if the schools with all the most money, they had their own playoff, and then the group of 5 schools had their own playoff, and we said, okay, let's ask the fans of those schools, and Boise State fans wrote in, and Appalachian State fans wrote in, and different fan bases wrote in and said, we want a shot. Like we want to play in that playoff. I imagine that's the same way the players and coaches feel too.
Absolutely. Yeah, we just want a shot. I mean, and I believe in, and I know everybody in June is going to talk about how great their team's going to be, and that's just the reality. But I believe that every coach has an opportunity to build and develop their roster to give themselves the best shot to win the games they need to go to the college football playoff. Some years you do, some years you don't. That's football. The ball rolls differently. That's football. But as a competitor, I want to recruit and build a program that always has a shot to play in the college football playoff. And especially at Boise State, and this is not because of me. I mean, since the turn of the century, there's only a couple teams in the country that's won more football games than Boise State. We've had 27 consecutive winning seasons. So when you have that kind of history, that kind of tradition, our fan base, Bronco Nation, our players, we just want a shot. Then it's our job to go put the work in, and creating different playoff models. Like, I don't like that one bit. Give us one playoff model where we all can get a shot. If it's 12 teams, 16 teams, whatever. That's up to us to go win those games, but don't separate it. Give us all a shot to go play in a college football playoff game and win a national championship.
Yeah, Boise State's the poster child of the entire college football playoff discourse for my entire adult life. Like, this isn't just like 1 year. Like, this Boise State was, why didn't they have a shot,
2006, 2009. Yeah.
I was 16 years old when that stuff was going on. Andy is old, by the way, Spencer. It's embarrassing how old he is.
Yeah, all these head coaches calling me sir now is getting very disturbing.
But the thing that I think is fascinating, though, is that we have to acknowledge in college football that Alabama and Ohio State and Georgia are working with a different set of resources than everyone else, right? Even sometimes teams in their own conferences. And I think that it is interesting to try to dissect the mindset of places. And Boise State is certainly closer to Georgia than some of the other teams in this pantheon or this discussion of, would you rather have a shot at the teams that have everything, or would you rather compete with the teams that are more built like you from a population standpoint, a money standpoint, a resources standpoint? And it's always go take the biggest shot at the biggest dog that you possibly can, right? Like, that's how you think. That's how their fans think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. For me, it's, you got to find and I agree. I was talking with a coach the other day, and I even saw a tweet from, I think, Brett Bielema, where it's like, if we're all shopping at Walmart, let's all shop at Walmart. If we're all shopping at Louis Vuitton, let's all shop at Louis Vuitton, right? And I get that. For me, as long as we can continue to recruit the right kids and we can keep them and develop them, I believe we can go play with anybody in the country. Now, that's hard to do that consistently in this model where the amount of money that's being used in college football and what have you. I get that. But I know every game we lined up against last season, I did not feel outmatched. There were some players on the other side of the ball against some teams. You're like, those players are really good, but we have really good players too. And no different this season. I believe in our team. We're going to play some guys that have really good football players from game one all the way through. But as a competitor, it's our job to train our players, to build them to be the best version of themselves. And then at some point, put the ball down. Like, it's 11 on 11. This is a game. It's not a computer generated deal. Like, that ball is going to get caught or not. It's going to get intercepted or not. That guy's going to be tackled or not. And it's our job to grow our team. And when you find the right kids, we're going to develop them because they're high ceiling. And I believe that we will consistently have a team to compete with anybody. That is our job to go do it. So for me, that's how I'm wired. That's how this place is built. It's always been that way. And I love that about this community. I love that about Bronco Nation, where it's anybody, any place, anytime. And then let's go play the game. Everybody else is going to have their opinion. And I'm with you in college football and where it's going, where you can see guys that I've heard about some of these rosters that last year and even this year, maybe even more in regards to money. But at some point, they got to go play football. And who has the closest team, who's got the tightest culture, and we got to make sure that we do that here.
All right, Spencer, before we let you go, we ask everybody this before they sign off. What is your rule for life?
Mm-hmm. Well, I got 3 guys, and this was told to me when I was in college. I played at Azusa Pacific, and one of our linebackers coach, Bo Beatty, he told me 3 things, and now it's on my wristband. It's written all over my office. And the first one is love Jesus. Second one is work hard. Third one is treat people right. And for me, I'm by no means perfect. I'll screw up more than anybody. But if I can keep my faith and love Jesus, that's my foundation. If I can outwork people, and everybody I come in contact with, I want to treat them right. And I want them leaving any conversation feeling empowered. If I can do that every single day, I believe that that's success for me.
Your 3 or more, I have a 3-prong one too, and yours are more global than mine, I think. Mine is never complain about free food, never complain about free beer, never skip leg day. And I feel like you do all right with those 3, but I think with your 3, probably a little more universal.
I screw a lot of those up, so I probably should.
Yeah. Mine is don't order cuisine from restaurants that specialize in multiple types of cuisine. So
love that. Yeah. Love that. That's where you go to In-N-Out or Chick-fil-A.
Nobody's good at making pizza and tacos.
Yeah, if they have pizzas and tacos on the menu, get the hell out of there.
Correct. I love that.
I think you accomplished your goals here on our show. Your rules, Spencer. Thanks so much for your time, man. It was really awesome catching up with you, and it's going to be awesome watching you guys this year.
I appreciate you guys. Thanks for letting me on. It was great hanging out with you. I could do this all day. Appreciate it.
That was spectacular. Thanks you so much. That was awesome. Spencer Danielson from Boise State. That was a lot of fun. Also, produced a question in the chat that I thought was really interesting from Big KG. Should I be concerned as an Arkansas fan that Boise State was able to have a Heisman finalist and make the playoffs the year after losing their starting QB to Arkansas? Well, I think you have to kind of go back into the end of 2023 to see how much Talon Green really caused Boise State to have that resurgence and win the Mountain West. I would argue that a lot of it was fear of Ashton Jeanty. Now, Talon Green was very efficient in those games. They didn't ask him to throw very much, but he had a high completion percentage when he did. I think if you look at the numbers, Boise State's defense was excellent, which that was Spencer Danielson's side of the ball. Probably a big reason he got the job. So, like, Ari, I don't know about you. If Arkansas had gotten Ashton Jeanty instead of Talon Green last year, do you think that would have made a bigger difference in Arkansas season? Because I do.
Yeah, but I think the question too is that, like, if you think that taking the better quarterback should have propelled you to something, then you're just like dismissing everything that made Boise State great last year. So like, I do agree with you in that sense, but like, I do think there's probably a lot of people in Arkansas's position over the years of like, well, if we didn't take this transfer, or look at what this team did with our guy. And it's like, every place is different. So I think that Boise State is probably just further along as a program than Arkansas.
Yeah. And Arkansas needed a quarterback. Like KJ Jefferson, they decided to move on. They needed a quarterback. Talon Green was one of the better ones available. So like, it's fine. But yeah, did you think that was going to be it? No. I mean, look, there were teams that tried to get Ashton Jeanty away from Boise State, and they were not successful. If one of them if a power conference team had gotten Ashton Jeanty, my guess is that would have made a massive difference.
Right.
I don't know that getting Talon Green was going to make a massive difference for a power conference team.
I mean, it is funny too, because it's just like Arizona State lost Jaden Daniels, 4 years ago now? Or was it 5?
3.
4?
4. Yeah.
He played. Yeah. And then like, was the Cinderella team 4 years later who got the best of a quarterback transfer, right? Because like, I'm sure Michigan State's not fond of the idea of losing Sam Leavitt. So like, it kind of ebbs and flows, and there are going to be times where you lose a player or get a player that doesn't, live up to your standard, or you lose one that's really good. And there will be times where you have the better end of the deal. But it's just kind of like, it's going to be very interesting, Andy, just moving forward into the world, how to analyze these moves as if they're trades, because like to a certain extent they are, right? Like if you can offer somebody something that they can't get it where they're leaving, or you want that player, you prefer that player, you go get that player. Like, you're making a decision for your program, especially with the quarterback position. So, I don't know. I never had a thought once last year of like, oh, what does this mean for Arkansas? Like that didn't even cross my mind.
Yeah, they went and got the quarterback. I don't think Boise State would have been fundamentally different whether they had Talon Green or Maddox Madsen starting a quarterback. They had them
Madsen
both.
Had a pretty good year,
by
right? Like I think that like we undersell Madsen's production and his ability to.
Madsen got better as defenses tried to shut down Ashton Jeanty. Madsen made them pay for it, and I think that's all you can ask.
Right
now, I think Madsen's going to have to do even more, because obviously there is no Ashton Jeanty now. So we'll see how he develops as Boise State's quarterback. And we'll find out pretty quick, because they play at USF week 1. USF's healthy again. Like they weren't healthy all last season. That's going to be a really good game. Those are two teams that actually could win their conference in the group of 5. So that first game, which is a weeknight game, I believe that's the Thursday. Yeah. August 28th is the Thursday. So by the way, we mentioned early in the show that LSU winning the College World Series, that's the end of college athletic competition in the 2024-2025 school year. The next college athletic competition we will see. That's right. Reddit CFB had a great graphic on it today. Farmageddon in Dublin, week 0. We are not far away. 61 days.
24th.
It is the 23rd.
23rd. That's you want to give a piece of America to Europe, like that's the way to do it, right? Like,
That's right.
like if you drafted like things, how could you explain America to the Irish and you just give them Farmageddon and that
Yes.
and McDonald's?
Here are Kansas State and Iowa State playing football.
Yeah, the two teams from the American heartland, like you just go and playing nasty
And show them video of the one 2 years ago in the snow.
Yeah, this is what you're getting. If I were a fan of Kansas State and Iowa State and I could afford it, I would go to this.
Oh, 100%. 100%. This is going to be
Ireland is
so
like a bucket
awesome.
list location for most people, right? Like the cliffs
Yeah.
of Ireland. I would love to
Also,
go.
I like when this game's a conference game. So it was Georgia Tech, Florida State last year, which obviously we had a lot of thoughts after that game because we thought Florida State was something different. The year before it was Navy Notre Dame, and it was kind of eh. The year before that was it was Nebraska Northwestern, and that one was wild.
That was the game where Northwestern won, and we were like, Nebraska needs to just punt the program into the sun. Was that?
Yes.
Am I remembering that
Pretty
correct?
much, yeah.
You know, a conference game that could go a long way in determining how things shake out in a conference on August 24th is pretty awesome.
August 23rd.
23rd.
Yeah.
I'm not good at math. Also, too, I'm 36, turning 37 in July, and I don't know which months have 30 days and which ones have 31. Like, I have to look at the calendar. I have no idea. Like right now,
So if I gave you a quiz right now.
No shot. I don't even know how
June,
many
the
days
month
are
we're in
June.
right now. Does June have a 31st or not?
No idea. I'm telling you, I don't know.
All right, 30 days has September, April, June, and November.
Say it again.
30 days has September, April, June, and November.
I don't even know it now. I still forgot. Is that something that like you're supposed to know? Like
when you're like 4, yes.
Yeah. The thing that I think is so funny is that like
that's why there's a little rhyme.
There are so many things that I should know that I just don't know.
Well, I mean, we're not even going to get into February.
Show me the knuckle trick. Do you know the knuckle trick?
I don't know the knuckle trick.
I do remember once.
30 days has September, April, June, and November?
Yeah, I got called into the principal's office like in
I don't really need my knuckles for that.
Because there was a kid in my class who was born on leap year, and I thought that was the funniest thing in the entire world. And like I kept bringing it up, and the principal's like, "You gotta drop this kid." Like
you got called in the principal's office for making fun of a kid for being born on February 29th.
I don't even know if I was making fun of him. I was just like laughing hysterically every time I looked at him. Like I thought that was the funniest thing in the world because like he doesn't get a birthday and like when you're a kid.
Oh yeah,
birthday's the biggest.
What the hell's wrong with you?
Like you know, what do? You just like celebrate it the day after?
Yeah, or the day before.
Yeah,
probably whatever day falls on a weekend.
I wasn't trying to be mean. I literally just thought it was hilarious. I still kind of think it's funny.
I can't believe you got called in the principal's office for. That is
also,
incredible.
have we calculated how many years you have to go before you're accurately like? Do you even like know your actual like? How many days do you lose in your actual age?
Well, every year is 365 and a quarter days. That's why we add the day every 4 years.
So what? Yeah, I don't like this. I don't like
they're still going around the sun as much as we are.
I know, but how do we
born on February 29th doesn't change that.
Day of the year gets like how do we account for that extra quarter of a day?
We add February 29th once every 4 years.
Okay. Got it. So we have this whole other day to account for it. But like if you're born on February 29th, then like how do you like you lose 4 days a year? And I guess so every 4
you don't lose any. We all
you're right.
Every time the same way. I'm going to assign you to watch Interstellar so you can understand the theory of relativity tonight.
Age 4 years at a time.
Oh my God.
They were born, then they were 4, then they were 8, and then they were 12. But
the way you'd be doing it, they'd be turning 4 when they turn 16.
No, they can't be. They can never be 11, is what I'm saying.
Never. Odd numbers are just out for them.
Yeah. Okay. Knuckles represent months with 31 days. Spaces between them.
30 days. Oh, spaces are. I got you. Oh, you're using all your knuckles. That
Knuckles
makes
represent 31 days. Spaces, but so January, February, March, April, May, June, July.
July's 31.
Okay.
I promise.
Does your thumb knuckle count? I'm confused. I can't do
August
it. All right,
is
let's forget
no,
it.
because if you can do it like this, because August also has 31. July and August are 31 and 31.
I'll just use the calendar on my phone to check it when I need to know that, and then I'll just keep I'll carry on living my life that way.
Oh my god, I learn something new every day. This is amazing.
Yeah, I am like, if somebody asks me, do you want to go like play trivia at a bar? Like, that's my absolute nightmare.
Oh, that's my dream.
Because that, like, to me, like that, like you want to do this game on the show where we do where players were and where
Whose
they
team
are
is it
now.
anyway? Yeah, we've done it.
And I'm going to be
We
terrible
did it
at
before you got here too.
I have no ability to recall any information.
Well, time to start
Yeah.
because you need this information,
Well,
and that's
I mean,
why
like,
we're
the
doing it.
information
By the
that I
way,
need,
is
like,
for the fans who also like. Think about how long ago the transfer portal, like the main transfer portal window was, the December one. I guarantee there's some big moves that you've forgotten and that I've forgotten and
For
that
sure.
the fans have forgotten.
Like, that's the thing that's so difficult about covering college football now. Like, it was so easy to know the rosters and feel like you had a good understanding and feel for teams on a year-to-year basis. Like, it's like, who did they lose in the draft and who did they sign? Like, that was, and then you basically had it.
The problem is if you're hopeless forever. And now you don't have to be hopeless.
Anybody
forever.
could be good. But here's the thing that I think is interesting. And maybe this will be a nice 10-minute segment that closes out here.
Well, we've got the video game stuff too.
Video game stuff too. So let's make it a 3-minute segment. And then we can make it a 15-minute segment tomorrow if you want.
Tomorrow, yes.
What team is going to be really good this year, like BYU was last year? Because they made a lot of really good
This is the whole
moves.
show tomorrow, Ari.
But like,
This is the whole show.
they made a bunch of moves that we're not appreciating enough.
This is the whole show.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it. Yes. No, and I texted Cody Blair. We're gonna get whose team is it anyway up and running, hopefully this week. But this will actually be good research for both of us for when we play whose team is it anyway.
Right. That'll help me. But I do feel like we do these rankings, and listen, like, I feel like when I say these things, I'm selling us short for how much. Like, we read about football all day. Like, nobody.
Oh,
reads,
it's just so much. There's so many moves. It's not a like I. And if you do take it as a criticism of us because we don't remember every single transfer, that's fine. That's fair. But it is so much to hold in your head at one time.
And I'd love to hear what people think too. Like, if you are a listener or you're listening to the show and you want to email us or tweet at us or something, like, who do you think is next year's team, or which team do you think we're not talking about enough now as a pertains?
Well, like last year at this time, we we're talking about Ole Miss as that team. Like all these moves they made.
Yeah.
Look at what they did. I think LSU is probably the team that we've talked about the most in that vein, in terms of what they did in the transfer portal. But in terms of who we're missing, like we weren't talking nearly enough about Indiana this point last year. And Indiana should have made the most sense because it's Kurt Cignetti taking a lot of his James Madison players.
Right. And that is impossible to quantify. Like, I'll put my hand up right now and say, hey, listen, if somebody took
we didn't know how good those guys would be in the Big Ten.
Lower level that, like D'Angelo Pons or something. Like I don't know. But I'm looking at the rankings here, and like there are a bunch of teams that we've talked about quite a bit. Like, we did talk about LSU and Tech, right? We have talked about Miami. But like Oregon, for instance, is a team that we talk about all the time. But like, are we underselling how good Oregon can be this year? Because I think I had them 9 or 8 in my top 25. Like,
well, and they made a lot of their moves are replacements out of the portal. And we've had the discussion, we probably need to have it more, of is that a good thing or a bad thing? Like, because Georgia made some moves. Like, I think Noah Thomas going to Georgia is a big move. But Georgia, for the most part, is taking guys that they had in the program already, and they're going to go, all right, did we develop these guys enough?
But we've spent
Oregon has a lot of guys in really key spots that are transfers that are plugging in.
Yeah, is Makai Hughes going to be like Ashton Genty this year? Like, do they
Good
go get
question.
a running back that's just going to be the talk of the town for the entire season? And like we've spent 20 minutes total talking about him this offseason? Like, how much did we talk? Like, we weren't together until the first day of the season last year, but like, how much time did you spend last year talking about Ashton Genty on your show?
A decent amount because we knew he was good coming back. Didn't know he was going to be
coming
bad.
back. But I remember like when I was podcasting at The Athletic, like we talked about it a little bit, but we didn't talk about it commensurate with what it turned out.
We didn't think he would be. Yeah, we didn't think he would be what he was.
Yeah, and
I mean,
here's
he
another.
was averaging 10 yards a carry for the first month of the season.
And here's another team that we have spoken very little about in terms of football, but like North Carolina flipped their entire roster.
Yeah, I don't know if that's necessarily in a good way.
I don't know if it's a good way or a bad way, but they have, I'm counting here, over 40 new incoming players.
Yeah.
And they have an easy schedule. Like, is North Carolina going to be 9-0 this year? Like,
Or is North
feel
Carolina
we've,
going to be 2-7
I don't know.
in that
know.
stretch?
I don't know.
That's the thing. Like that,
Their head
some of
coach
these
is
are hard to
Bill
judge
Belichick.
because it's guys we haven't seen play very much.
Their head coach is Bill Belichick, and we've spent very little time talking about how their coach is Bill Belichick. We've talked about his girlfriend a lot.
Yeah.
Talked about her properties a lot and the sex shop
Well,
quite a bit.
Hey, TCU is their opening game on Labor Day, by the way. Like, remember when TCU was in the national title game 3 years ago?
Yeah. Yeah, I do.
Like, what is Sonny Dykes going to do? Because they kept their quarterback when some people were trying to come after him.
Also, have we completely given up on the fact that Florida State was good at the portal 2 years ago and can do it again? Like, is that possible they did it again?
Again, yeah, exactly. We've not talked, and I've had this conversation with Florida State fans that I know. I'm like, what do you want us to say about them? Like, what do you want to know? And they're all like, I don't know. I don't know what to say about them. I don't know what we don't even like. The Florida State fans aren't even sure how they want to talk about Florida State right now.
Here's the thing about Florida State. They got Gavin Sawchuk from Oklahoma. They got I can't say
Thomas
this name.
Castellanos. Yeah.
I can't say his name, and I can't say the baseball player's name. Say it again.
Castellanos.
I have a hard time pronouncing that name. And they also have Deuce Robinson, the former USC tight end. Like, could they have like a sneaky, fun, explosive offense that we're not appreciating? Like, I don't know. I don't want to blow the whole show tomorrow, but like Florida State could be. I don't know if they're good again.
All right, let's put a pin in it.
Okay.
And that's tomorrow's show. But right now, we got to talk a little bit about the video game. EA Sports. Welcome to a special edition of Andy and Ari on 3. We're talking EA College Football 26. Gameplay. I got to play the game in Orlando last month, and it was a lot of fun. And there's some things that were embargoed that we couldn't talk about yet that now we can talk about. And the one thing that I feel like is going to be the biggest game changer this year, the one that everybody, when they get their hands on the game, every single person, because everybody's got their own favorite mode. Some people like Dynasty mode. Some people want to play now. Some people want Road to Glory. But everybody plays against their friends, and they've got a substitute. And for however many years football video games have existed, you had to press pause already to substitute. It is so annoying. Like, pause. In the old days, you had to go into the formation and like find the guy, and it was a pain in the ass.
Yeah.
No more.
The subbing is really, really great. Especially if you're the type of person that like gets into the game like at that level. Like last night I was up at midnight playing the game, and I played somebody who beat the ever-loving crap out of me. I couldn't even get a first down. And they subbed players on defense and like had the whole thing. And there's some people who just play the game and just play the game, but like the ability to adjust your coverages and the depth of your zones and all the things that you're going to do while also having the ability to sub in your personnel faster is going to make your ability to outsmart your opponent better. Like that's the thing.
And I think even the most casual player wants to sub, because I'll give you an example of last year with Ohio State. there are some plays where you want Quinshon Judkins carrying the ball and some plays where you want Travion Henderson carrying the ball. And if you wanted to do it last year, you had to pause and go back into the game.
Well, and last year you could like toggle while you're on the formation before the play to change your
before the play, but now you can do it pre-snap. And so you just hit up on the D-pad, the box comes up, you're hitting left or right to switch the person out. And that's why I think, the really advanced players are going to do this with different safeties and linebackers and that sort of thing. But I think even the casual players will do it with running backs and receivers.
Especially if you're running a hurry up, because you can't sub if you don't go back to the menu. Like, if you don't go back to the play call menu. And I think now you can sub in between plays.
Correct.
Going back to the menu, which is huge. And like also too, there are a lot of people who figure out certain plays that just tend to work and run them over and over and over again. And like sometimes in my most frustrating moments that I have in the game is when I know what the other person's going to do and I still can't stop it. And I think now being able to adjust the depth of your zones and, having some of this personnel, changing ability before the snap is going to help you like actually win the mental part of the game, because like the best players in this game, Andy, beat you at chess. They're very good at calling the right defense or calling the right offensive of calls, because they know what their opponent's going to do. And this gives you more versatility and able to do that. And the stunting mechanism, I don't know if I'm like the ability to.
Oh, you definitely talk about that, because that's one thing they were pretty proud of is adding stunts to the game, because before they just didn't have the technological capability to have individual defensive linemen doing those things. And now they do. So now you have to deal with the real stunts that like a real offensive line would have to deal with in a game, where this D tackle goes under this way and the defensive end wraps around, and now you got to figure out how to block that.
Yeah, and I haven't played the game yet, and I unfortunately was in my favorite place in the world, Las Vegas, when the beta was released, so I wasn't able to do it. I hope, and somebody in the chat here made that point too, that hopefully the new stunts and twists on the defensive line aren't overpowered. Like they still need to, like you can't just do a stunt and get home every time. You know what I mean? Like
you need to be able to block it.
You need to be able to block it too. Yeah.
I think it's probably going to depend on, because it feels like they've got a lot more dependent on the player rating, like the awareness rating. Right. And we just saw a clip in the B-roll with one of the things that they talked about that I'm very happy about, because I tend to go chuck and duck when I get desperate. And before, if you were running a go and the DB was running fairly even with the receiver, it didn't matter how good the DB was. He's probably catching the ball and picking you off. And now the DB has to have enough awareness to get his head around. Like if he doesn't have a certain awareness level, he won't get his head around. So you may not complete the pass. It may bounce off his shoulder pad, but he's not going to pick it off every single time, because that was very unrealistic.
Yeah. I mean, that one clip that River just had of you being able to take your linebacker who's like zoned in the flat and then move it specifically to where that route's going to end up should put an end to people who run the same play over and over again. Like that, like the thing that I think is so fun about this game is that back in the old days of video games, college football games or NFL games in general, it was just like who was the nicest on the sticks. And as this game gets more advanced and more realistic, your like football knowledge, your ability to run, man defenses in the right sets or running the zone sets at the right time is what makes you good at it. Like the more you know about it, the more you sub, the more you change your coverages, the more you change the angle in which your defensive linemen are rushing or containing. Like it makes a huge difference. And they've like honored actually knowing about football in a way that actually has a tangible difference in whether or not you can move the football or not.
Well, because of this game, like, so my kid plays actual football in high school, but he plays on the line. So he's not, that attuned to what coverages look like, but because of the game, he can recognize like a cover 2 shell instantly. Like he knows exactly what that looks like. So
yeah, and it actually helps people understand football a little bit more. And I think that like in general, like for us and our job too, like there's so much criticism and discussion about certain play calls or certain things that happen. And it's like the actual depth of what goes into decision making in football is so insanely deep that like hopefully this game will help people appreciate too, like why plays break down in real life and why, things didn't go the way that the coach had hoped for. Because like it's one
thing I think they've done really well, and especially in the past couple of years, like bringing the game back. And I remember talking to the Madden team about this last year, because last year Madden added some stuff you could do with the line of scrimmage to change blocking schemes, and that obviously carries into this year with college football. But also what you were just talking about, some of the things you can do pre-snap, the substitution goes into this too. They have made it where you feel more similar to how a coach or a coordinator feels in real life, where you have to make all of these decisions within a few seconds. That they now have the technological capability to allow you to make those decisions in that time period, and they've given you the way to do it that doesn't disrupt the flow of the game. Because let's be real, having to pause and then change things, that's not fun. This makes it feel like you are actually sitting. Let's say the offensive coordinator sitting in the press box, and the last play ended, and you know you've got 15 seconds till the next play starts, and you got to figure all this stuff out.
Yeah, there's no question. I love this, Andy. I'm so excited. Like it's 10 days from now. I'm gonna get after it, and I also feel like as the year went on, this year I've gotten progressively better at the game because I'm starting to understand the importance of like coverage changes and all these things and pre-snap adjustments. And like now that you're able to do a little bit more in-depth stuff with that, I'm excited to sink my teeth into it. And I also love the fact too that like 2,800 plays and how many formations was it? Like that's a big addition to the game, because a lot of times the number one criticism in the past of like Madden
45 plus, because I think they're not done. I think they're still adding them on the floor right now.
Stuff in, but like back in the day when they would just reskin these games, like it was just the same plays in the same game every year over and over again. So the fact that I feel like I'm getting something new, the fact that I feel like there's
the Penn State swinging gate formation is so fun when you look at it. I will warn you, do not run it every play. Do not run it multiple plays in a row. The defense will immediately diagnose it if you do it more than once. But it's fun when you throw it out there and you're like, what? Look, there's an offensive tackle and a guard way out by the hash mark. What are we doing here?
Yeah. But I play people online, guys. I just want you to know that like last night I played somebody who was Georgia and I was Miami, and they just absolutely smoked me. They're running this defense where they were bull rushing the center. I couldn't run. I couldn't throw. It was just awful. I was like losing like 42-0, like at halftime. And then the game before though, Andy, I just want you to know, I was losing 31-20 heading into the fourth quarter, and I won 50-31. And I went to bed like with a smile on my face.
Well, they're trying to make it as realistic as possible. One other thing, and this will be interesting to see how this plays out on the field. The height of the quarterback matters in terms of what he can see. So if you have a shorter quarterback and you run him under center, there's a chance he's not going to be able to see the field very well. So if you got a short guy, you may want to keep him in the gun. If you got a tall guy
in the gameplay, though, Andy,
what's that?
How does that manifest in the gameplay? How does it impact the user experience?
Now they call it field vision. It's not. There's no vision cone. They didn't bring back the vision cone from the games that people didn't like. But basically, it manifests itself in your windows are tighter. You're not going to be able to see those receivers popping open. You may not be able to get the ball through,
like
because
you're and things. If you try to,
you can't get over that.
Somebody looks
6'8" lineman.
They might not actually be open, and you'll throw it to an open receiver, and it'll get batted down or whatever. That's cool.
Yeah. So I mean, there's a lot of stuff that they've put so much into it already. Now they're sort of fine tuning, taking small situations and saying, okay, let's figure out how this gets in the game. And so I'm fascinated by how all of this comes together. But I think the one thing, if we ask everybody once they get the game in July, what's the one thing that makes this feel completely different? It's the substitution thing, because everybody's had that situation where they see the back that's on the field and they're like, wait, I didn't want to hand it to him. I wanted to hand it to the other guy. But you don't want to pause. And so now you don't have to. And I think that's going to feel like the biggest change to the most people. Yeah.
And the graphics look updated. I like the new score bug. Cannot wait to download this the day it comes out. I'm going to be up at some point on the show, Andy. We got to share our gamer tags. I think now you can do cross. You could last year, like cross
platform play, which is great. And maybe like most loyal listeners or people who engage in the show the most will get one-on-one games. We'll do the headset. I'll try not to say
get Ari trash talking you.
Yeah, I'll try not to say insensitive things into the microphone. I do partake.
You do it on the show every day. What's going to stop you with the when you're playing a video game?
I get a lot of pleasure hearing the other person being upset when I'm playing.
Oh, Malik says college football should have adopted the defensive players moving around before the snap like they did in last year's Madden. Good news, Malik, they did.
They did.
They actually talked about this when I was down in Orlando. They showed us from I'm trying to remember which game it was. It was a Georgia game a few years ago. Oh, no. I'm sorry. It was the Georgia-Texas game last year in Austin. They showed us how Georgia moved pre-snap defensively as Quinn Ewers was waiting for the snap and how much it messed Quinn Ewers up on that play. And then they showed us in the video game version exactly how you can do that now.
Yeah. So yeah, we're what, 2 weeks away, 2.5 weeks away. Cannot wait.
A little more than that. It's about 3 weeks right now, but we're going to make it.
Oh,
we're going to make it.
We get it sooner though, I think. So that's good.
Michael, is Billy Napier in the game? Billy Napier is in the game, Michael. I don't think it really looks that much like Billy Napier. Of my rankings of how the coaches look compared to how they actually look, the most accurate portrayals I would say are Sharon Moore and Manny Diaz, I think, are the two that looked most like themselves in the game.
Yeah. And
Billy Napier's a tough one because he's got like the perma stubble, and they kind of made it look like he's just got a goatee, but he's a perma stubble guy. So
yeah, which we all kind of admire and want to be one day. Yeah, can't wait to play it.
But they're working it. And Ken, is Dan Lanning in the game? Yes, Dan Lanning is in the game. Lots of coaches. James Franklin's another one that looks a lot like himself. But it's not just head coaches. They also have some coordinators in the game too. Like, for example, Penn State, Andy Kotelnicki and Jim Knowles are both in the game. So, like, if you're doing a dynasty mode and you want to you could start as Andy Kotelnicki, Penn State offensive coordinator, and then work your career from there where you take a head coaching job and you move. So there's a lot of fun little nuggets in this one that you haven't been able to do before. So, Ari, we got a few more of these coming up. The one I can't wait to tell people about is Road to Glory. Road to Glory is going to be so cool, especially if you're an On3 subscriber, if you're a Rivals fan, you're going to really appreciate it. So we're going to talk about that in a couple of weeks, but I can't wait. We're so close. So close. I'll talk to you again.